Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's event, Cybersecurity, What You Need to Know, featuring John Iannarelli, class of 1993 JD. This event is brought to you by the Phoenix Torero Club and the USD School of Law. My name is Megan O'Rourke, and I'm the Associate Director of Regional Programs for the Office of Office of Alumni Relations at USD. Events such as this were designed with the Alumni Association's mission in mind, which is to engage and enrich the Torero community for life. We do so every year through in-person and virtual events, interactive webinars, and lifelong learning opportunities. We hope today's program provides you some insight into the vulnerabilities for businesses, how to avoid becoming a victim, and what to do with cyber criminal attacks. While I see some Toreros on the call from Phoenix, I would also like to comment that we have some Toreros from all over the country on today's call. We thank you for attending today's event and thank you to those who will be watching at a later time. Some housekeeping items before we begin. We are recording this event through Zoom webinar and have activated the Q&A feature. If you have any questions for John, please feel free to put them in the Q&A feature and we will address them throughout the event and afterwards, time permitting. Today's recording will also be available on the USD Alumni Association's YouTube channel later this week. At this time, I would like to welcome Phoenix Torero Club President Jean-Marie Bichelia to turn on her camera and to say a few words. Jean-Marie.
Thank you, Megan. On behalf of the Phoenix Torero Club, I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight, both local Phoenix Toreros as well as those across the country. We're happy to have you here. I am Jean-Marie Harrington Bichelia, and I am co-president of the Phoenix Torero Club. I am also president of the Phoenix Law Alumni Chapter. Both of these organizations of alumni and friends of USD provide opportunities for you to stay connected with the university in a way that's most meaningful to you. We have in-person events and Zoom events, and we are looking forward to bringing more of those to you in the year to come. We help you build connections with one another for networking, as well as providing events and opportunities for alumni to be lifelong learners, such as today's. Speaking of events, the Phoenix Torero Club's next event is coming up next month on Saturday, December 18th. The USD's men's basketball team will be taking on the Northern Arizona University Lumberjacks in the Colangelo Classic at the Footprint Center. We hope to see you there if you're in town. If you have any ideas for what the club can and should be doing in 2022, join us for our next committee meeting on Wednesday, November 17th from 5 to 6 p.m. via Zoom. You can register for this on the USD Alumni Events page. Although we host a number of events annually, we encourage you to stay connected with all of our alumni via social media. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, Team, and the university's online networking platform. Thank you to all who gave their time, talent, and treasure back to USD. It's truly appreciated. Thank you to the USD School of Law for your partnership on tonight's event and for providing such an educational and informational session for the alumni and students in attendance. At this time, I would like to introduce our speaker for tonight, John Iannarelli, class of 1993 JD. John served for 20 years as an FBI special agent and was the Bureau's national spokesperson. His career includes having served on the Cyber Division executive staff at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., and was the former assistant special agent in charge overseeing all cyber investigations. His investigative work includes the Sony hack, and he is the recipient of the FBI Director's Distinguished Service Award, as well as an honorary doctorate in computer science for his contributions to the field of cyber investigations. John is also a former San Diego police officer and graduate of the University of San Diego School of Law, having also completed international studies at Oxford, England. He is an attorney, the author of several books on cybersecurity, and now a frequent on-air contributor to national news programs. He is a highly sought-after consultant and keynote speaker on cyber matters, who has presented to Fortune 500 companies, domestic and international audiences, the United Nations, and the Vatican, where he has personally met on several occasions with Pope Francis. And we have the honor of him presenting with us tonight. John, take it away.
Thank you, Jean-Marie. Great to be here. Hello, Toreros, and thanks for having me. Tonight, we're going to talk about cybersecurity and what we can do to keep you safe at work and at home as well. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint and share it with you folks so that you can see some of the information from the FBI that I can bring to you tonight. All right, so let's jump into this. I've seen a lot of cyber issues over my career in the FBI, spanning almost 21 years. There were hacks of law firms, and sadly, some of those firms didn't do so well afterwards because they weren't prepared. I'm not going to solve all your problems tonight, but what I'm going to try to do is give you enough information to keep yourself safe, keep your practice protected, and be there for your clients. So the first question is, why even listen to me? What special blessing do I have to talk to you? There's a lot of cybersecurity experts out there, a lot of them right out of USD. In the FBI, I worked with many cyber agents, all of whom were graduates of USD. So what is that special blessing I have? Well, I throw this out as my special blessing. So obviously, that's me with the Pope. For those of you who are unfamiliar, he's the one on the left. But the Vatican was concerned with cybersecurity, and I had the good fortune to be selected by the FBI to go over to the Vatican and talk about cybersecurity, giving me this chance to meet with Pope Francis. Now, think about this. The Vatican pretty much is public in everything, yet there's certain information that they want to keep secure, employee records, financial records, financial transactions, various people they work with, etc. If the Vatican is concerned with keeping their information proprietary and confidential, certainly everything you do, whether it be in your practice or even at home, should have the same sense of security. So take a lesson right here from the Vatican. You want to take some time to think about your cybersecurity. And I realize this could be a foreign language to a lot of people, but there's nothing so technical that you have to do. It's just some basic, simple skills. Let's start by talking about what actually is being stolen out there in the cyber world. So if you look at this slide, this is representative of some of the major things and the most common items that cyber criminals go after. Take, for example, where it says credit cards. We've had major hacks of credit card companies. When we hack into businesses, their point of sale, we're going after that credit card. Think about the last time your credit card was compromised, and you know it was. You got that letter saying, hey, we're giving you free credit monitoring because your credit card's been compromised, and we're going to issue you a new card. It was a pain. You had to re-register everything that you used that credit card for automatic payments. You had to notify various people. You had to cut the old card in half and use the new card everywhere you go. It took a lot of time. Yet when I steal a credit card, if I were a cyber criminal, I'm selling it for about 40 cents a piece. Why is that? It's much more valuable to you and I. Well, the reality is cyber criminals are not stealing one credit card. They're stealing them by the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and they're reselling them on the internet, mostly on the dark web. While we're talking about the dark web, let's take a look at what the internet really is. Think of the internet as an iceberg. You know, you've got that top seventh above the surface. That's the internet that you and I know. We do our email, we Google search, we go to different websites. But the vast majority of the internet is below the surface, the deep web and dark net. That's where the military will be doing operations. There'll be educational tools, but all the criminals lurk down in the dark web. And it's not hard to get on the dark web. Think about your own email today. You're probably using Outlook 365. You had to download a Microsoft program to use that email. You can Google, and I recommend you don't, but if you were to Google tool to get on the dark web, there's same programs just like Microsoft you download, and it'll let you access the dark web. That's where the criminals steal this stuff, go there and resell it. So take a look at this slide. This essentially is the Amazon of the dark web. If you look on the left-hand side of the screen, there's all these different sites there. you'll see drugs and chemicals, accounts, credit cards, jewelry, weapons. Now, next to it are numbers, but those are not the numbers of items being sold. Those are the number of websites you can find on the dark web to go to. So if I was to click on bank accounts, I have almost 3,000 different sites to choose from I can go to, and I can buy all that bank account information. Why are people selling it as opposed to just emptying the accounts? Well, if I'm the one who's just moving these transactions, chances are law enforcement is not going to worry about me as much as the person who's actually hacking into the specific account. It's a way to fly under the radar. And also, they're dealing in volume. They're taking a lot less risk and making a lot of money over and over again. But you see all these sites here. The darknet is an active entity and location for cyber criminals. All your information is going to be taken there. A lot of your information is probably already there, because if you're online or your information's online, chances are it's been compromised at some point in time. So the first question for you, your law firm, your law practice, how vulnerable is your computer? You get a brand new computer, take it out of the box, you plug it in, hook it up. How long before somebody tries to hack into that computer? Think about it for a moment. You know, it could be an hour, it could be a day. I've heard guesses all along the range of time, but it takes about 5 minutes. In just 5 minutes from the time you get that computer out of the box and hooked up to the internet, somebody is already trying to hack into it. There are teams of computers out there called botnets, robot computers. If I'm a criminal, I can hack into one computer and I can make that computer do my bidding. All the while, it's still working at a computer for whoever's using it in a law firm. And that computer is going to go out and look for other computers to hack into and take over them as well. Pretty soon, I have hundreds, if not thousands of computers scouring the internet, looking for that computer that it can get into. And how did they do that? You buy that new computer, you hook it up. They ask you, hey, do you want to buy the antivirus software, or do you want to buy the malware protection? Most people think, I've already spent $1,000 on a computer, I'm not spending another $100. But you wouldn't buy a house and not pay for the lock and key to the front door. That's exactly what you're doing with those computers unless you put the protections in place. So don't hook up that computer to the internet unless it already has the antivirus software, the firewall connected and ready to go. Just a couple of minutes in lapse in time, cyber criminals are going to take advantage. This is expensive stuff. When we look at data breaches, last year was the worst year on record. Now, a lot of that had to do with COVID. Everybody's working from home. Nobody's thinking about cybersecurity. We had over 15 billion records compromised, 7,000 breaches. Now, those are the breaches that people actually took the time to report to the FBI. A lot of people didn't want the bad publicity they felt was going to come, or they just figured, you know what, it's a loss, I'm going to write it off and move forward. But of those breaches reported, we have that many lost records. The average loss to a decent sized business was about $8 million. That's the damage to data, and not to mention, you have to make people whole again. You have to provide that credit monitoring. Estimates are it's about $242 per record compromise on average when there's been a hack and a compromise of information. Capital One, the big credit card company, their new motto might as well be, who's in your wallet? Because they lost 100 million records. That's 100 million credit cards multiplied by $242 a piece. Who pays for that? It's not going to be Capital One. It's going to be the consumer. It gets passed along to you in higher interest rates, higher annual fees, and other assorted expenses that makes up for that loss. Meanwhile, that money has gone to the cyber criminal, and most of it has gone overseas. With all this going on, when the FBI went out and talked to businesses, more than half said they really felt they were defenseless against the cyber attack. Trust me, you're doing more tonight than most businesses will do. Just the simple tips you're going to get in the moment will keep you safer than the average business out there. The average business response is, hey, I got a cyber guy, I got an IT guy, they're going to take care of the problem for me. I'm not going to worry about it. But at the same time, when the FBI went out then and talked to IT professionals, more than half of them said, hey, we really don't know what's going on in the workplace. We're hired to manage the network, but we don't know what employers are doing. We don't know what they're downloading. We don't know what malware they've let into the system. So really, if you're thinking IT is going to keep you safe, you're probably not correct. If you have an IT service for your firm, what are they actually hired to do? Chances are you've hired them to make sure you're online, your network works, everybody can talk to one another, you've got a website up and running. Are you paying them to be looking for potential hacks? Are they examining your server logs? All that takes time and it's going to take money. Unless you've asked them to do it, they're probably not looking for a hack that may have already occurred and could be lurking in your system, waiting to strike at some future date. That's what I've seen with a lot of law firms, that they had a problem that was lingering and nobody caught it or looked for it even until the problem occurred. Now, first question then, do you have an IT person that manages your computer network? Yes or no? Let's go to the poll. All right, results are coming in. It seems like the vast majority are using an IT person. So I would encourage you, whoever oversees that IT person, you want to talk to them and say, hey, are they checking for problems? I've had law firms that had malware on their network and had been sitting there for months. All the while, the person who is injecting that malware was waiting for the right moment, waiting for the big case payment, waiting for the big money transfers so they can intercede and give false instructions, etc. All of that to prevent the law firm from receiving what they received and hurting them in the process. All right, we'll close this out and let's continue on. Okay, so tonight, I'm going to go over some basic things. I'm going to talk about identity theft, phishing scams, ransomware. We're also going to talk about the Internet of Things, the business email compromise. Trust me, if you're going to be a victim, that's probably going to be it. We're also going to talk about your mobile devices. And finally, I'm going to talk a little bit about corporate espionage because it is alive and well. So let's start with identity theft. You know, when 9/11's anniversary, 20 years just passed us, we were reminded of the billions in dollars of losses when the buildings came down, the financial district was in chaos. But yet we look at identity theft in this country. We're having a 9/11 virtually every year. Approximately $50 billion are being stolen. That's money not being put back into the economy. That's money that's not being paid out in raises. That's money that's not being taxed. So all of this is hurting everyone regardless of who it's stolen from. But the dark secret of identity theft is I can go online right now. I can find and take all your information. It's not a crime. Only if I do something illegal with that information is it viewed as a crime, and then law enforcement can get involved. One of the things we see a lot is synthetic IDs. I go and steal your information. I make a synthetic ID, otherwise known as a fake ID, and I can use that to go out and say, buy a car in your name, or maybe even apply for a home equity loan in your name, get that money delivered to me, sent to a bank account, I'm going to wire elsewhere, and I'm gone. You have no history of me until the bank or the car dealer comes after you for payment. I'm going to show you a quick picture. I swear I'm not making this up. This was a driver's license that we took off of someone who made up a fake ID. I will tell you, if you're going to make up a fake driver's license, don't have your girlfriend in the picture when you do it. Sometimes we only catch the stupid ones. Now, he was one of those stupid ones, but they're all not that obvious. This he presented, discovered immediately. But a lot of these IDs look real. Look very professional. And so they're hard to catch. That's why you've got to be aware, is your information protected? Likewise, we want to prevent the ID theft. And the way to do that is, the obvious is, don't carry anything that has your social security number on it. Now, while your social security number is probably out there somewhere, just don't make it easier for anyone. And I also recommend use a shredder, and especially at home. Think about all those credit card applications you get. You just throw them in the garbage. There are still dumpster divers out there that steal all this. If I find a credit card application and fill it out, but put a different address for where the card's going to be delivered, it'll be ages before you find out. Meanwhile, I'm racking up charges in your name. One of the easiest things to do is, if you're not buying a house, a car, a major purchase, freeze your credit report. You can contact all the credit bureaus, there's 4 of them, and just let them know, I want my credit report frozen. So if anybody tries to take out a credit card or a loan or buy a car, they can't do it because the credit report is frozen. When you need to make a major purchase, you contact them and unlock it. It's that easy, and then you lock it up again. You should be monitoring your credit reports as well. You probably have fire insurance on your home and office, but when's the last time either one ever caught fire? But you pay it gladly, thinking, hey, if it ever happens, I want to be protected. Well, guess what? Your credit is going to catch fire someday when somebody steals it. It has probably happened already. You don't have the time to look at this stuff every single day. Hire a credit monitoring service that can watch it for you. There's a lot of them out there. I don't endorse anyone, but there is a company that I use. If anybody is interested, I'm going to have my contact information at the end. You can contact me and I'll be happy to provide who I prefer and use. I get no financial remuneration at all. I just share the information because I vetted them and I'm comfortable with the service. Smart Identity is one of the companies you can look at. They're a Phoenix-based corporation that's been around for 108 years. They're well established, obviously, and they can do credit monitoring, but there's a bunch of others I can talk to you about. So, next question. Do you have a credit monitoring service that you're using to watch your credit? Yes or no? All right, we're split right down the middle on this one. So it shows you that a lot of people haven't thought about it. And I will tell you, it's one of the things you really have to worry about today. It's more likely your credit is going to be stolen than any other type of thing that's going to happen to you. So you definitely want to have somebody looking at it, unless you can devote the time to look at your various credit card statements and everything else. But even then, you're not going to know if somebody stole your credit until they actually use it. They can apply for a credit card and you will never see it until something appears on the bill. Better to catch it the moment that credit card has been applied for, as opposed to when you become a victim. Now, the next area that we see a lot of theft of information is in phishing scams. Think of the Sony hack, for example. Remember a couple of years ago, North Korea hacked into Sony and they stole a bunch of information they made public. All of us responded by watching that movie to see what it was all about. Well, somebody at Sony clicked on a link and downloaded malware. It wasn't a sophisticated cyber attack from North Korea. It was just a single link that downloaded malware, cost the company a bunch of money, hurt their reputation and brand, all because they just didn't know any better. It wasn't a bad employee. It was an employee who had not been trained. So here's a great example of a phishing scam. This looks like it's from the US District Court. It's a subpoena. You've got a problem. You're in trouble. This was sent out via email. This went out to approximately 20,000 recipients in just one city alone. Of those 20,000 people that received this electronic email subpoena, 1,800 people responded. Think about that for your business. Imagine if you were advertising for clientele and that for you got a 10% response on your advertising. That would be amazing. Here, that's how convincing these phishing scams are. You and I know, though, as attorneys, the government is never going to send you an email that says it's a subpoena that you need to comply with. If there's a problem, the government's going to come out and pick you up. So know that you just delete these emails. Make sure your employees, your family, anyone knows to delete them as well and just ignore. I mentioned the Internet of Things. Take a look at this map. This is right before the 2016 election, and the blacked out areas represent where the internet service in this country went down for a period of hours, almost as much as a day in some places. It was an attack by a foreign country, probably Russia, trying to see if they could hack into the election system. Now, the good news for the US, our election system is so antiquated that they would have to hack into every single county, city, and precinct to have any effect. But what they were testing was, could they get into the election system via the Internet of Things? That's any device that's connected to the internet. And you could see the outage they caused because they were able to access these items. My car that I bought a couple of years ago is connected to the Internet of Things. I was driving down the highway in Arizona, common story, a rock kicks up and breaks my windshield. I later pulled into a Starbucks. My car synced with the open Wi-Fi at Starbucks. Next thing I know, dealership is calling me, asking me if I want to bring the car in to have the windshield fixed. That's the Internet of Things. Think of every device you have in your home or office that's connected. In my home, my coffee pot's connected. My thermostat's connected. But I took the time to change the passwords. If you haven't changed the passwords are standard, and I can look up any password for any device on the internet. So can the cybercriminals. So if you've got a device that you haven't adjusted the password, they can log into, I don't know, say your coffee pot. Next thing you know, they're on the internet in your office, they're on your network. You don't want to be the law firm that was hacked by a coffee pot. Make sure you're aware what is connected to the internet, what really needs to be connected, and if it does, that the password has been secured. Within the next couple of years, we're going to have 75 billion items in this country connected to the internet. It's everything. You need to be aware of what it is because those are vector points for possible threats for you. Now, I mentioned the business email compromise and the threat it poses. I've had a number of law firms contact me on this one. The FBI reported just last year alone, they had about 22,000 businesses that were victims. Again, these are businesses that took the time to make a report to the FBI. It estimated about $12 billion were taken. It's a huge increase from the year before. Why? Because the cyber criminals have found out this works, this is profitable, and it's going to keep going up. And it's kind of a sophisticated scam using social media. I can go to your LinkedIn, look up some information about you, find out who your assistant is or whoever controls the money, and I could send an email pretending to be you with enough information I learned about you to make it convincing to the person who receives the email. How did I send that email in the first place? Take a look at my email address. It's john@fbijohn.com. If I was to, I don't have to hack into my email address to create a new email. I could just get another one from GoDaddy. How about john@fbljohn.com? Would you or your assistant ever notice a difference? Even if I made it the number one, chances are they're not going to see the difference and notice it. I send in an email, I say enough for the right things to make them think I'm you. I instruct, hey, I want money wired immediately, no questions asked, this is urgent, do it within the next 10 minutes. And the next thing you know, you have money flying out of the office. Sometimes they'll hack in and just watch the email traffic as well. I had one law firm that was handling a major real estate endeavor. They were wiring $1 million. They first sent $10,000 because they wanted to make sure it would go through. And the criminals let it pass. But then when they were going to send the remainder, the criminal jumped in with the fake email, said, okay, here's the new wiring instructions for the remainder. They sent $1 million. It was gone overseas. That small firm wound up having to file for bankruptcy and went out of business because their insurance would not cover the loss. You got to have some protocols in place. If you're wiring money on any basis whatsoever in your office, make sure you pick up the phone and confirm the wiring information. Don't just pick up the phone and say, hey, did you send me a wire? Because the criminal can hack in and steal that wire and send you the new one with the wiring instructions. Have them read it back. Do it every time. If you do that, you never have to worry about this crime. Aside from the defenses I mentioned, have a strong password. It's pretty basic. I use a password keeper because I have a different password for everything, and they're all strong passwords. Two-factor authentication as well. You can have it on your email. I use two-factor authentication for when I'm banking. If you're using a bank that doesn't use two-factor authentication, get a different bank. Even if somebody steals the password, the two-factor authentication will keep them from doing any transaction with your email and your email password. Telephone confirmation that I mentioned, and be aware of that unexpected urgency. We all want to help. We all want to be responsive. We're wired that way. But that's what they prey on. The criminals know that as human beings, we want to be helpful. So when they say it's urgent, that's a red flag. And the ongoing cyber training. You know, if I was to come back next year and do this presentation again, I'm going to talk to you about different things because it's changing constantly. You want to stay up to date with what's going on as best you can. Today, you're aware of the business email compromise. You want to be aware of what may happen tomorrow. Ransomware, another thing affecting law firms all across the country. There's different versions of ransomware, the crypto, or where they basically encode it so it can't be read. Locker, you can't get at it. Spearware is when they target you specifically for whatever reason. And leakware, I steal the information, I threaten to leak it to the world, thereby ruining your reputation. We have a ransomware attack about every 14 seconds in this country. That's how prevalent it is. So what you want to do is you want to make sure all your information is backed up elsewhere, a second server or a remote hard drive, whatever it takes. That way, if you're ever the victim of ransomware, you can just have the computer wiped clean, reinstall your information, you're back in business, and the criminal hasn't gotten anything. But the criminal's getting clever. They're sending out these messages now, and they're inviting employees to participate. Hey, download this email attachment. It'll load malware into the computer system, and whatever we get from the firm, we're going to pay you a percentage of. Think about your employees. Somebody's having a bad day. Somebody's angry at you. Somebody's having financial distress. It could be very tempting. You want to be aware of what's going on out there. And this is why you want to be prepared and have all your information backed up. So the next question we have is, do you routinely back up your work and your home computers? All right. Well, again, about 2/3 of you are backing up, which is great. But I would ask you, where are you backing up? I've had a lot of offices come to me and say, hey, we have a backup, but the backup was on the same server that they were using for the computer system, which means the backup was infected with malware as well. Take a look at where you're backing up. Talk to your IT people. Are you backing up to a remote server? Are you backing up to the cloud? And if you're backing up to the cloud, where is that cloud? Find out. That cloud could be in a foreign country. And if it's in a foreign country and it's infected, well, the FBI has no jurisdiction. Make sure you're backing up to a cloud that's US controlled so that if something does happen, the FBI and local law enforcement can take action and try to make you whole again. All right, your mobile devices. A lot of problems, a lot of risks with mobile devices. We all use them. We all have to use them to do business today. But just understanding the risks, first of all, if you lose your phone or it's stolen, you got your whole contact list. Think of all your clients that are out there. And there are ways to hack into these phones to get the information. They're not as secure as the phone companies would like you to believe. Likewise, I don't have to infect the computer in your office. If I can infect your phone, chances are you're going to check your email, you're going to log onto the network. When you do something, that malware is then going to spread to the network. You probably have antivirus protection on your computer. Do you have it on your phone? Have you taken the time to think about that in keeping your phone protected? Smishing is one of the ways criminals do that. You ever get that text message with a URL and you click on it and it brings you to a website? Well, I can send you a text message with malware, and until you click on it, you don't know what it is. So be careful of those text messages with URLs. Unless you know who it's from and you're confident that's legitimate, better to just go to the site directly from a computer as opposed to doing it on your phone. Same with phishing. You've probably gotten those phone calls, your car warranty has expired. Well, what they're trying to do is get information from you. It's voicemail phishing. And if they can get you on the phone and you say the wrong thing, they may not get all the information they need, but it's piecemeal. Maybe I've stolen John Smith's date of birth over here, but I'm going to get his social security number this way, and I'm going to get his home address in another way, and pull it all together. Next thing you know, I have enough information to do what I want with your identity. And finally, juice jacking. Let me play a video for you to show you the problems of what's happening with juice jacking and how it's affecting us.
Hey guys, this alert is coming from law enforcement. Hackers have figured out a way to hide secret malware inside public charging stations. So if you're at the airport, the mall, the hotel, you plug in your phone, all looks okay. But what's really happening? Secret spyware is infecting your phone. Today, you're about to watch a hacker do it with ease. It's called juice jacking. Your phone battery is dying. You need a charge. So you find a public charging station to juice up. Everything looks normal. Phone is charging, all good. What you don't see? Secret malware giving hackers full access to your phone. And you'd never know. How easy is it for the hackers? We're about to show you. Let me just step down here. This is Brian Seeley, a world-renowned hacker who operates here out of his own garage. This is where it all happens. Luckily, Brian uses his skills for good. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it. All right, so can I borrow this just for a second? Please. Thank you. So today, Brian is working on this charger right here, the kind of charger you'd find at any public charging station, and you're infecting this with malware, right? Absolutely. Spyware, so you can take control of people's phones. His victim today is me. He works fast, takes him only minutes to do it. And just like that, the charger is bugged. If I plug my phone into this to charge, it'll look like it's charging, but you can actually watch what I'm doing.
You could be anywhere on the planet, and I could rob you completely blind without leaving this chair, without putting on pants.
All right, so I'm going to go try this. I'm going to drive away from here. I'm going to try this, and you're saying you'll be able to see what I do when I plug this into this.
Shut the door on the way out.
I drive 10 miles away from Brian's house. The charger is powered up, ready to go. Pull into this parking lot, I'm going to plug in my tablet and get going. I start browsing the web, and straight away I go for a hacker's dream. Bank now. Now we'll definitely be changing my passwords after this, like right after this. Then I write some work emails and personal notes too. He said he can see contacts, so I'm gonna email my wife. And can't forget about my kids. We go on Amazon. My son wants this racing game. I play around online for a while, but now I need to know. Let's go see Brian, see what he saw. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Did it work?
Absolutely.
What'd you get?
I have your wife's phone number, for starters.
What's your name?
Danielle.
What's your phone number?
Ends in...
It's correct. Okay.
You've emailed with someone named Deirdre.
My producer.
And I believe, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but your son might be getting a racetrack from Amazon. Does that sound about right?
Hey, God. So you were able to see that, because I was looking at the picture right there. But then he tells me the scariest piece of private information of all.
I have your bank account number.
You have my bank account number. I did go on. Then he names my bank. Yeah. And my account number.
And I can read you back text messages from your wife, everybody you've ever texted, all your call history, everything that's on your phone is now mine.
And just when I think he's done, it gets even creepier. So what are you doing?
Taking a picture from the camera.
You can remotely.
Yeah.
You just all because I plugged in. Yep. But I'm not in the charger anymore.
You just took once to get infected.
And then it stays on it?
This is now mine.
So as you can see, that is an issue you need to be concerned with. Don't plug in your phone to any of these public charging stations. Carry an extra battery. They're pretty cheap. You can buy them, or have a cord where you can plug directly into the wall. Likewise, everybody's working remotely these days. We're using Zoom technology tonight. All these different services are out there, and all of these services can be hacked. That's why it's so important when you set up a Zoom call or anything else, make sure you have a waiting room where you can let people in and you can knock them out if they cause a problem during the meeting. That way, if somebody slips in that doesn't belong, you don't have to worry about it. And a password is good protection as well. As I said, we're all working remotely these days in the past year. Employees are not thinking about your firm's security. They're thinking they're happy to have a job and they're glad to be working, but the cyber criminals know they're not focusing on security, and they're aligning all the attacks that I have showed you tonight with people working remotely. That's why it's so important. We've got to take the time to make sure that not only you know the dangers out there, but just go back and share this information with your employees to keep them safe as well. Taking a moment just to talk about corporate espionage, it's live and well. This looks like a phone charging device. I found it in a law firm's wall. The law firm had concerns that a competitor they were going to trial with was knowledgeable about some of their information. When I opened it up, I found it was a sniffing device. Basically, it was picking up everything off the computers in the office area. Somebody sitting within proximity to the building could download it all right onto their computer. For those of you who travel, likewise, I'm going to show you a quick video here. Now, this was done in a foreign country, but I have a bunch of videos from all over. I just happened to pull this one at random. FBI agent posing as an American businessman, not identifying themselves as an agent, leaves the room. Watch what happens when he's out of the room.
哎呀，你把我吓了一跳了。
这个我们没敢去看呐，这个烟好像是真的哦。你打多少多少钱？反正我们不敢去帮他。
这是一个微型的监控器。这个是多少？100。
我看你的思想口在那里才知道。
You can see a lot of people going through his stuff, looking over it. We saw on the video that everything was copied from his daytimer. His hard drive was copied as well. It happens all the time in foreign countries, but it happens here in the US. If you're traveling with sensitive information, say you're going to be in another city for a trial, make sure you have your important stuff with you when you're out of the room, or it's at least secured in the safe in the hotel room. Not having policies, the policies I've talked about tonight that protect yourself, can equal lawsuits. We look at these, TJ Maxx, Target, etc. All of these had customer information that was compromised and cost them a lot of money. Sears, if you're advising clients as well, nobody talked to legal counsel, nobody talked to HR. They started this loyalty club and they sent out emails to all their customers to sign up for the loyalty club. Well, when people clicked on the email and downloaded the loyalty club, Sears downloaded spyware on their computers. Yes, they could see their shopping habits, which is what they were after, but they also saw personal pictures, bank information, etc. Major lawsuit cost the company lots and lots of money. My favorite, Eli Lilly, the drug manufacturer, they make the drug Prozac for mental health use. Well, it's an expensive drug and they wanted to make the money that comes with selling that drug. So they decided to send out email reminders to everybody in the country who had a prescription. No guidance. They had everybody's name on the to line. So everybody else in the country could see who was using the drug Prozac. Obviously, lawsuits ensued. You know, the reality of breaches, 25% are the sophisticated, hardcore hacker that's going to break into your system. The 75% that remains is really the insider. And when I say the insider threat, it's not an employee who wants to hurt you. It's just an employee who doesn't know any better. Say, for example, in the Sony hack, statistically, about 1 in 8 employees are going to cause you a problem at some time. That's why it's so important to make sure your employees are trained, try to control that percentage and keep the number down. How do you do that? Well, just like you're doing tonight with education. I'll bet any amount of money that your average employee has not sat through what you're learning tonight and therefore doesn't know what innocent mistakes they can make that can hurt you. You want to keep yourself safe. I've mentioned before, but it's worth repeating, whether it's at home or your business, use a strong password. I use a password keeper. That way I don't have to remember anything but for one password, and that's the password to the password keeper. The two-factor authentication I mentioned, the antivirus software. I can't say it often enough. You want to make sure you have it downloaded and keep your systems up to date. Whenever there's a patch put out, that's because somebody hacked in. You want to make sure you have the fix. Secure your Wi-Fi as well. Keep your data backed up and make sure it's backed up separately. Ongoing training like I'm doing for you tonight. And you might even want to think about having some outside monitoring. I'm a cybersecurity expert and I have somebody monitor all my devices looking for problems because frankly, I don't have the time to do it. There's companies that do this for short hours. What is more important, a couple of dollars or your firm's brand reputation? It may be well worth considering. Hey, before an attack happens, have a plan. Know who's going to be in charge of it. Know who is going to be the lead and what critical personnel. It's not going to be your IT people. It's certainly not going to be the head of the firm. Designate who is the person and who do we need. You're going to need HR. You're going to need an attorney dedicated to it. You're going to need somebody who can talk to the media. Know who to call. You know, pre-breach, I used a monitoring service called Black Cloak. If you're interested, I can refer you with their information, but hopefully they'll keep me from ever being breached. But if a breach occurs, there's the company here in Arizona, Merchants Info, smartid.com. That's who can step in and do all the notifications for anybody who's been a victim. Every state in this country has a different law. You have to comply in every state that your victim resides or you've ever done business. Notify law enforcement. You're probably going to pick up the phone and call the FBI. And if you're not already a member of InfoGuard or someone in your firm isn't, think about joining. It's a public-private alliance where you can join and they will put out regular email notifications to you of what threats are happening. Likewise, if something does occur, now you know an FBI agent by name, you can pick up the phone and call. I've written some books on this. I'm not hawking books, trust me. I have sold thousands of books and made hundreds of dollars. The publisher gets all the money. But for the office, information governance, if you got kids at home, WTF, why teens fail, what to fix, how to keep your kids safe online. And if you're looking for some laughs, my recent book that just came out, Disorderly Conduct, it's funny stories from my career in the FBI. With that, folks, it's not a matter of if, it's when. You're going to have a cyber problem at some point because that is the new norm. The real issue is how will you respond? Are you prepared? So the most important thing tonight is my contact information, and I'll tell you why. For you fellow toreros out there, this is what I'm going to do. If you ever have a problem, you can call me free of charge. I have nothing to sell you. I will talk you through the problem. I'll try to help you fix it. If I can't fix it myself, I'll find somebody who can, and you can see about hiring that person. But use me as a resource. You're welcome to call me anytime if anything ever happens. With that, I'd like to throw it back to the folks so that they can take over for the rest of the night. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, John. And if you want to stay on camera, we do have a couple of questions to walk you through. We had one come in through the Q&A function that said, what can you do if you have used public charging stations for your phone?
Great question. So if you've used a public charging station, you want to run a virus scan to make sure nothing's been downloaded on your phone. But more importantly, do the same on your computer, because you're probably using the same email and you want to make sure you haven't transferred it to your computer. If nothing's there, no harm, no foul, but be aware of it. It's on the rise because it works.
Thanks so much. And some questions that we had through our registration process. The first one was, what are some career outlook or perspectives for someone who's interested in pursuing a career in cybersecurity?
God, are there jobs in cybersecurity? They estimate in the US alone, there'll be about 100,000 unfilled positions next year. So anybody who's looking for a career in cybersecurity, there's various levels of jobs. You don't have to be a computer genius. Just understanding the threats is a job in and of itself, being able to direct resources. You also don't need a full degree. There's a lot of certifications that you can get in just a matter of weeks and months that'll make you qualified for many of the jobs. It is big business and it's growing. They're always looking for people. So is the FBI, by the way. If you have a cyber skill, we encourage you to join.
And we had an excellent question about boards. Boards of directors need to be briefed, and they need to be briefed about cybersecurity. So what are 3 key factors or metrics that we should be keeping boards up to date on?
So boards need to know, number 1, the landscape. What are the threats out there? Number 2, where are your vulnerabilities that have not been addressed? And then number 3, what has to be done to keep the company safe? Make sure the C-suite understands that. I also recommend, in today's day and age, you really need somebody affiliated with the board that speaks this language and understands, because sometimes it goes over other people's heads, but at least get that information along. And that way, worst case scenario, you tried to prevent a problem from happening.
And would you recommend that these updates occur at every board meeting?
Cyber is going to be a main issue and should be discussed at every board meeting. It's not a one-time and we're done. As I said, you invite me back, I'm going to be talking about it, different issues. I guarantee you there's a new issue the next time you have a board meeting.
All right, we just had another question come up in our chat. How has the adoption of cryptocurrencies or cybercriminals impacted law enforcement's ability to track, catch, and prosecute?
Wow, good question. And that's part of the problem. Cryptocurrency is difficult to trace. It's boundless with the borders. Now, the FBI has had some success recently in some of the ransomware attacks. One of the most notable was the Keystone Pipeline. There was an attack that had occurred and cryptocurrency was paid. The government was able to trace it and track it. Usually that involves getting somebody on the inside, though. It's the Wild West on the internet, and the cryptocurrency is that gold they're panning for out there. It's very hard to go after the person and find the money. First, you got to figure out who they actually are in reality. And when they're sitting down at a keyboard in a third world country, in a cyber cafe, and they never come back, that money is probably as good as gone. Got to be careful. The best way not to be a victim that you need the FBI for is don't become a victim in the first place. Easier said than done, but trust me, the simple things tonight will keep you much safer. You don't have to outsmart everybody out there. If you're just a little safer than everybody else, the cyber criminal goes on to the easy pickings.
Kind of like the burglar who will skip the house with the dog barking at the front window.
Great analogy and absolutely correct.
Second question related to the last one I just said, do cybercriminals still request payment in BTC, or are other cryptos more in demand by cybercriminals?
It varies by cybercriminal. I'm still getting cybercriminals that want good old-fashioned bank transfers as well. It depends what they're set up for, where they are in the world, etc. But all of that is occurring, so don't be surprised.
And I think we have time for this last question, and I think it's a good one to kind of wrap everything up with. What are some daily habits to keep us safer from hackers?
So daily habits, like I had mentioned previously, number one, don't click on anything you're unsure of. It's always best, you get an email from, say, Apple telling you, hey, your email address has expired. Click on this link. Go to the Apple website. Trust me, by the way, those emails from Apple, eBay, Amazon, none of those people are that helpful. They don't really care your password's expired. So chances are you receive that kind of message, just delete it and ignore. Likewise, use a strong password. And for years, we've been told, hey, never write down your passwords. I don't know who these thieves are that are breaking into homes and stealing written down passwords. They don't exist. Feel free to write down your passwords. Just keep it in a safe place. I'd prefer you write down your passwords and have a good password than use password one or your dog's name or anything else that hackers can figure out and get past.
Thank you so much for your time, John. This was really interesting. As an attorney, as a partner at my firm, all of this was very helpful. We have IT who do actually monitor our cybersecurity, and we have mandatory cybersecurity training for our employees who need to maintain a minimum score. So the resources are certainly out there. I'm sure you can point our alumni to them. Similarly as well, I am more than happy to connect you with the service that we're using, not trying to hawk it off on anyone, just it works and it's great. Thank you again for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Megan?
Hello, thank you so much, John and Jean Marie. Such a timely subject. And I think a lot of people on this call learned a couple of helpful tools that they can use for either their business or themselves to make sure they're secure, both on their laptops or their phones or what have you. Thank you again. And actually, before I close out, it says here from Mark, John's Information Governance and Security book was a textbook for my USD Cybersecurity graduate program. So that line right there just shows how much we love to support our alumni and the great things that they're doing in their communities or through their work. So thank you, John, for your expertise. We really appreciate you taking the time, and obviously we love to promote you when we can. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Here's a couple of information on some upcoming events that we have that are coming up this month, next month, and then some highlighted ones for the USD School of Law, and then also the Phoenix Torero Club. So we have a couple of ones coming up quite shortly. Virtual Industry Networking Night tomorrow night. How to make backcountry truffle, which is an interesting one, from our Outdoor Adventures group. But a big one that I want to point out here is this Thursday, November 18th, is a networking happy hour presented by Amplify Cyber. That is a cybersecurity company that was started by two USD alums from the class of 2019 from the MS program in engineering and cybersecurity. So for anyone who is in San Diego, it is in Del Mar on Thursday at 6 p.m. So we will send the information to for you to register for that. We would love to see you there. And the last you'll see here are the last two events on the far right, which is the Law Orange County Holiday Party on December 4th, and then the USD versus NAU game at the Footprint Center, which Jean Marie mentioned earlier. So hopefully one of the events that you see listed tickles your fancy, and hopefully you'll be able to join us. But for now, we hope you all have a great night, and take care, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Bye.